Light the beam, because it's time for Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish movies for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, a.k.a. the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, the people's champ, Tim Cack.
If you feel it, chase it, baby.
Wow. You know, Tim, most days I'm willing to chase it because I feel it. But today, I don't know if I did feel it. We're talking about Andor Season 2, and I got to express to you a deep frustration that Andor is a show that I ride so hard for. I think the first season is among the best television I've ever seen in my life. By no means did I think the second season was bad, but it just didn't have that same punch for me that the first season had. I'm scared to even ask what you think about this one, because I can already feel that you're about to come down on this thing with full force.
I gotta say, I did not like this season necessarily. Mm-hmm. I thought it was way better than season one.
No way.
I enjoyed it.
Oh,
I enjoyed this one so much more. Like, much more.
This is flabbergasting to me. So walk me through everything. Take me through everything. What's one of the things that stands out to you that you didn't like about season one that you feel they did better in season two?
I don't know. I think about our season one pod, and at the very end of season one, they show that they were using the prison industrial complex. They were actively arresting so many people so they could use them as prison labor to build the Death Star. Mm-hmm. And you said you hated that moment. But that was my favorite part of the whole thing, was like, oh, so this does matter. This is actually relevant to the stuff we've already seen. And there's just more moments in this one that connect to the actual story. It feels like the things in this show have way more consequences. It seems like there's actual tension. Like Mothma is just doing a fundraiser in the first season. In the second season, we need to get her out of there. She's giving this speech, which is blah, whatever. I mean, it's the stakes for that are pretty low, but she is going to be killed. We have to get her out of here. And those scenes are way more fun for me than her just going around talking to people at a party. I don't love that. There's Andor is actively doing things. They go and there's a mission on this planet with the whatever. I don't even remember the name of the Colonels or whatever. What planet were they on the whole time?
Gorman?
Oh, the Gorman. Yeah, the Gorgons or whatever from Zelda. The
Gorons? I'd be more interested if it had been the Gorons.
If it had been the Gorons, it would have been awesome. Giant rock people rolling around there would have been great. But they even had the thing in the square where it ended with this shootout and there were consequences and people died and people were locked up. And it just felt like things actually happened in this season, where I felt like nothing happened in season one.
But what about like the Aldhani heist? Like, did you just not really feel the Aldhani heist because you couldn't see how it connected to the bigger Star Wars picture?
What was the Aldhani heist?
The Aldhani heist is the thing they did in basically Peru, where everybody's wearing like the alpaca hats, and it had the Black Mirror kid and bear, cousin from the bear. And they did the whole heist and a bunch of people died and the whole thing went sideways, and then they barely got out of there at the end.
That was kind of fun. It wasn't as good as getting Mon Mothma off the planet, I don't think.
Oh, see, dang. Man, yeah, I guess I disagree. The square stuff, it's strange because I recognize that it's really good. Like, inarguably, they had this incredible depiction of the inner workings of a revolutionary army. Like, no question, they did an incredible job displaying that. They did an incredible job giving you a boots on the ground look of what it would look like when that revolution, I guess, becomes formalized at the same time that it's becoming demonized by the ruling power. Incredible scene, like incredible, every aspect of it. Like, seriously, there's not a bad part of the show. The music is good. The acting is good. The casting is good. The sets are good. The costumes are good. Every single piece of it is good. And yet it's like, it feels more, I feel like maybe I'm an idiot, Tim, because I don't care as much for pulling off that general concept as much as I did for the much more prepackaged, very clear to see 3-episode arcs they did in the first season.
Well, they did do the 3 episode arcs in this one, and then they jumped a year. And I don't know how I felt about that. I like that there were little 3 episode arcs and then things changed over time. But that's also kind of, that part's not as interesting to me. I bet you liked it. I just I enjoyed season
Perfect
2 more
opposites,
than
buddy.
the first one, which makes me think they blew it because everyone loved season 1 and I did not care for it. So the fact that I'm enjoying season 2 more means that they lost whatever magic is getting the people going, you know? Like I can recognize that.
I don't think it's true because everything I've seen about this online has been fucking glowing, and it's making me feel like I'm crazy for not liking it as much.
There are very boring parts. I mean, the first 2 episodes I did not enjoy really at all. The third one kind of got me there. Like by the second and third eps of these kind of kept me hooked. There was always a thing that had to be done, like a goal to be accomplished, and it felt like there were real live ramifications for them. And I knew what was happening, you know, and it felt like there were kind of stakes to it, even though maybe I just also just looked at this in a different context. You know, the season 1, I'm like, is Andor going to escape prison? It's like, yeah, we all know he's going to escape prison. Who cares about this prison escape? And it's like, is Andor going to get Mon Mothma off the planet in season 2? Yeah, of course he does, but who cares? But for some reason, that was still way more exciting to me this time. Maybe I just kind of turned off that part of my brain that was overthinking it. You know, the first season 1, I was just kind of like, I don't understand the point of this. Andor is going to be fine. All these people are going to be fine. Everything's fine. And then the second season, it felt like there were actual stakes and there were actually going to be consequences. And there were so many characters I didn't know that maybe some things could go haywire and crazy. And I don't know, whatever. I do, you know, I do have other gripes about this. And one of them made me really want to turn off the show and not talk about it anymore. Ooh. So, you know, if you don't want to hear about sexual violence, just fast forward 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is. They fucking do have a rape scene in this. This girl, they attempt to rape Bix. Fuck you. Fuck that. Fuck that. Star Wars doesn't need rape in it. Sorry, it doesn't. Okay. It fucking doesn't. It's a joke. They're fridging this poor woman. She's the closest thing to a hero we have. And she gets beat up and tortured in the first one. And then they try to rape her. And then they actually talk about her potentially being raped. And like, I don't need this in Star Wars. Kids put on stormtrooper helmets for Halloween and they go trick-or-treating. I don't need to be thinking about rape every time I see a fucking stormtrooper now that they're going around and just like pillaging and taking these people and like that. We don't need that in Star Wars. I want lightsabers. Do a cool space fight. I don't want to talk about that shit at all. And it's not like, as a comic, I think I'm, you know, very desensitized to this stuff. If somebody tells me a horrible, horrible joke about a horrible topic, I'm not thinking about being offended. I'm thinking about the joke structure, right? Like I am desensitized to this stuff. So I do think there are ways to talk about horrible things that are entertaining or art or funny or whatever. But it felt completely unearned for Star Wars, a property that I think has gone completely downhill since, you know, the prequels. I didn't even realize that was going to be the high point. But aside from Rogue One, they've done nothing really of acclaim at all in my eyes. So I don't think they earned that shit at all. I don't think they earned it at all. I thought it was disgusting. I hated it. I really genuinely hated it. And I almost said, fuck that, and turn the show off. I was ready to stop watching, honestly. I fucking hated that.
It's really interesting. I've seen that same viewpoint a lot on Reddit. That was a really common thread right after the episode came out the next day. And it's surprising. I do think that they earned it. I mean, I think if any narrative writing team is going to be able to handle this situation, it's the team that's working on these shows. I mean, again, just every aspect of this is done with so much, it's done so well and so deliberately. This scene specifically, I mean, in a lot of what Tony Gilroy's been doing with the Star Wars property is really grounding it out and displaying for us why the Empire is evil and that the Empire is evil, and reinforcing the fact that the Empire is evil when, you know, what we have seen is a lot of what you said, where it's like kids dressing up as stormtroopers. It's something Lauren and I talk about all the time, which is, it's so weird to me that so many people are compelled to dress up as stormtroopers when stormtroopers are and basically always have been space Nazis. Like, it's literally, their name is literally based on Nazi stormtroopers. That is the name of a sect of German soldiers in World War II. So it's like, it's always been inherently linked to that. I think the franchise has gotten cartoonier and cartoonier as it has become more mainstream and as more and more things are based on it. So I think this is kind of a rebuttal to that in the same way that, you know, it's similar in a way to all the grounding things that they do in the MCU to make you believe in these characters, despite the fact that these people are running around wearing costumes. It's something all the successful MCU projects find ways to ground it out. All the unsuccessful ones don't. So like, I didn't view the rape scene as anything more than an extension of that, an opportunity. I actually thought it was an opportunity for Bix's character to not just get fridged. I mean, she doesn't die at the end of this. Like a fridging is when a character is killed specifically for.
They torture her. They try to sexually assault her, and then they write her off the show. That's what they do. What is the point of that? What is the point of her character? She was already tortured and she already gets revenge on the torturer. You know, that's her arc. That's cool. So what does this sexual assault add to this? I don't think it adds anything. And I don't think that stormtroopers have always been space Nazis. I get that that's the allegory, but they are faceless bad guys. They are generic faceless bad guys. They are helmets. You know, Luke and Han dress up as them and bump their head. You know, they bump their heads coming into stuff. Like, you're too short to be a stormtrooper. I mean, it's a bit. They're cartoonish. Then the helmets are paraded everywhere. The movies, this would be so out of character for the movies.
This isn't the movie.
And Star Wars is about the movies. I mean,
this is not.
That's the source material.
Thesis of Andor. The entire thesis of Andor is that it's not.
I reject that premise. I think Andor is a complete waste of time. I don't want this fake world to be serious. I don't. Maybe it's fun to visit. I don't think this is a world that needs a gripping, gritty drama. And I think this was the equivalent of like a new comic just working blue. It's shock value. It doesn't add anything to her character. It doesn't add anything to the story. It's completely unnecessary. She's already traumatized. She's already dealing with PTSD from being a victim. And then they victimize her again, like, just so that we can see more bad stuff happen to her. Like, give me a break. I hated it so much. I thought it was classless. I hated it. I really, truly hated it. And I'm fundamentally against Andor and pretty much Star Wars in general. You know, I said enough good things about it. This sucks. It sucks that they do this. These characters I don't care about. None of this matters. It leads up to Rogue One, which is cool. But man, they just let things die, man. Just let it die. You know, I saw this people like the live action Lilo and Stitch just came out, made a ton of money, and everyone's complaining about it because they made all these changes to the property. Yeah. And this continues to happen. And I think this happens with Sony characters too, where I think in order to maintain the rights for these properties, you need to keep using them and keep creating content with them. Right. So they're incentivized to create a Lilo and Stitch something so they can keep the Lilo and Stitch property going and make more money off it and all that good stuff. So they create these soulless replications that do not have anything to do with like the source material, you know, and like Sony, they're making Kraven the Hunter. It's like there are good stories out there with Kraven the Hunter, and they make like a soulless, just like going through the motions movie just to protect this IP and prevent Marvel from getting Spider-Man characters back, you know, and it feels like Star Wars, you did this thing. It's cool. Now you got Star Wars World. I know you need to keep making it interesting, but what now? You're going to go to the parks and you're going to get to run away from men breaking into a house just like Bix? Like what's the point of this?
This isn't for that.
Yeah, you can go build a lightsaber. Boy. You can go put on a costume. You can put a droid together. You can roll it around with your mind. But now we're also just throwing like assault and like on top of that. It's not fun.
I mean, you can accept that, like, you know, if we want to go specifically with like TV show adaptations and movie franchises, I think you also like the first season of Jessica Jones. That's a show that is fundamentally hinged around the character's history of sexual assault. So, like, that's the show that's inside the greater Marvel universe. If you go to Avengers Campus in California, they don't have a David Tennant Purple Man. Like, they don't have that. There can be different corners of this same neighborhood. It's the same as with the comics. You can have, like, when Marvel has the Max line of comics, you can have the Punisher Max and have a version of the Punisher who's out there brutally murdering a bunch of people and not have to worry about that same level of gore finding its way to, you know, Captain America and the Falcon the next day. So, like, it's
Marvel differentiates between these, though. There's different universes. There's the comic book universe. There was the Netflix universe. That was like a separate entity too. And that was, the Star Wars TV shows are the same as the movies.
We both have the version of Disney Plus for adults. These shows are not on the version for kids. So, like, this isn't accessible the same way.
I don't think we need it. I think the Jessica Jones story is really complicated and dark and powerful and artistic, and I respect it. And I think it's been handled really well in the comics. I don't think it added anything to Andor. I think it was completely unnecessary. And it's gratuitous for no reason. I think you can talk about this stuff. There are, like, conversations to be had about these things, but when you go there, you have to understand that there are consequences to that. So the point you're trying to make better be good enough or complicated enough, or it better be worth the consequences. And I don't think we got anything out of that in this show other than, I don't know. It just feels like they threw it in there. It feels like it's a hat on a hat, which is not how you should be treating heavy topics like that. I fucking hated it. And I don't respect Star Wars, and I hate it. And I'm mad. Now I'm just fucking pissed off at Andor. I hate Star Wars. I don't respect them at all. They don't respect us. Fuck them.
I guess
Star Wars is trash.
I agree to disagree. Star Wars. I think it added to the plot. I think it heightened stakes. I think it gave interesting avenues for the Bix character, and it allowed us to see ways in which she would grow and change and be an agent inside of the story and not just have things happen to her. And I don't know. I think they dealt with it perfectly fine. I think they every bit earned it. I think they dealt with it tactfully. I don't think that it's the kind of thing that we should be banning. I think they did an okay job with what it was. Maybe they could have spent more time. I don't know, but I don't think it's something to be excised. I don't think it was like, it seems like you and a lot of other people view this as like this glaring dark spot on the show. And I think it's just fully consistent with everything else that the show is doing.
I guess I just generally disrespect Andor then. I just reject Andor as a premise. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. I just completely reject the whole idea of Andor.
That does kind of make sense, because what you were mentioning, like, what I value so much about Andor, and the reason I didn't like the Death Star scene in the first season, is that I didn't feel like it needed to be connected back to the rest of the universe that much. I loved that it was functionally standalone, that you didn't really need any of the other stuff in order to watch this. And this one was more inexorably linked to the movie. I mean, they're actively discussing the Death Star for a lot of this movie, or for a lot of this show. And so it's like, that's what I don't need. I don't need us to plug it in. It kind of loses some of the steam for me when I know that this thing is going to end right before, like an hour before Rogue One begins. And so they're going to be racing to get us to a place that we already know. So, like, I don't need the tension of whether Mon lives or dies, because Mon's in episode 4. Like, Mon's living. It doesn't matter. I don't need stakes around that. I know she makes it. I value it more when there are characters that we are given an opportunity to care for, and then had the knife twisted on us, like the kid who writes the manifesto, and like I'm blanking on her name. She's the new Doctor Who companion that Mon Mothma's cousin is in love with, and she dies. And it's like, man, that sucks. That really hurts. But that's tension where it's a character. She wasn't around. I don't know where she is. You know, does she live? Does she die? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, to the Death Star point, that I did not enjoy. I like that it's connected, but there was a lot of conversation about this secret weapon. And then it turns out this whole time we've been talking about the Death Star. And it's like, I know that if this is a show for adults and you're going to be talking about like all this explicit adult stuff and it's not visible to children, then treat us like intelligent adults. We know it's the Death Star.
The name moment with the Death Star was so fucking lame.
It's so lame to be a massive reveal that it's the Death Star. You have to give us more credit than that. You have to give us credit like that, which is crazy. They're talking about adult stuff, but they're treating us like children. They don't. I just don't think they have a firm grasp on what they're trying to accomplish with this. That was so lame with the Death Star thing. Luthen. Yeah, I want to talk about Luthen. Your guy too. From season 1.
My boy.
The best part of season 1.
My co-boy with Saw Gerrera.
So fun. I don't get Saw Gerrera. I'll just say it. I don't get Saw Gerrera. After. It's weird. And Saw Gerrera, people are going to be selling Saw Gerrera masks. I don't think he belongs in the same movie as other people. I don't know.
I'd buy a Saw Gerrera mask. Actually, I wouldn't. That's probably problematic. I don't think that's all right.
Luthen. What do you think of Luthen this season?
Really was frustrated with him at the beginning of the season, and then the episode he gets with Clea, hands down best episode of the season, like contender for best of the series. So good. That's the one episode that I totally ride for. I think it's episode 10, where it's just their entire backstory, and I love it. And you get more background on who this guy is, why he works the way he works, and it kind of brings everything together. I love the dynamic between the three-way dynamic between, like, you've got your Luthen, you've got your Yavin base rebels, and you've got your Saw Gerrera, and all three of them need the other two in order to pull off everything they're pulling off, and yet all three of them have completely different approaches to how you run a revolution. What do you think? I feel like you're about to say he's bad.
No, I love Luthen. I do. I think he's the best part of this show. I think he got done dirty with his death. I hated it. That episode you're talking about with all the flashbacks.
Yeah.
I hate flashbacks. I don't need them. I don't think I need them. I think we can talk and build that into the show. You've got 12 episodes, right? Or 8. How many episodes? It's 12 episodes, 2 seasons. You can't incorporate this stuff over 12. You don't have time to squeeze it into 12 episodes. Just sprinkle it over.
Way before. Clay was like a little girl.
But we can imply the relationship. Really, I had zero context for their relationship like this whole time, until this. And now it turns out he's raising her. And it's like, I don't need this. I've like, the stakes were high enough that this is somebody she clearly cares about and she has to go in and kill him. I was also like, oh, this should just be the 3-episode arc. Is them. I was like bringing Cassian and like assembling a team and doing a heist, but the heist is to kill Luthen. Sick. That would be awesome. That's where I instantly went, and it was not that, and it was very disappointing and anticlimactic. And I like her, like Luthen. I also find it a little bit of a bummer. I understand because he has to be taken prisoner to do this thing you want to do. And if he's taken prisoner and it's a 3-episode arc and the heist and like the finale of Andor is them killing Luthen, the guy who inspired this revolution, and then Cassian going off to do this thing for the Death Star, which is like the final act of Luthen's sacrifice, that I would find incredibly compelling. And so if Luthen's death is going to be him stabbing himself in the stomach, and you get that's the payoff, I think it would be worth it. In this context, where it was just 1 episode and done, why didn't he go out like a badass? Like, one of the best scenes in season 1 is him in that funky spaceship doing cool stuff and having a TIE fighter battle, kicking butt, and then getting out of there. And it's like, it makes sense that his character would have these new technologies that we're seeing because he's this collector. He's been collecting all these odd things. He built this weird ship himself. He's just got all these tricks up his sleeve. That's compelling. That's fun. That's interesting. And his plan for finally getting discovered is to stab himself. This guy must have thought this out more. There's no bombs in there. There isn't an explosion. He doesn't have any cool tricks to take people with him. He just stabs himself. And also, that's not the most efficient way to kill yourself. He can't even kill himself correctly. And this is a guy who's thought about all these things, and he knows he's staying behind, and he knows he's too valuable. This is a guy who's always known he's going to die, and I think has been thinking about the possibility of killing himself the entire time. He's
Mhm.
been planning, he's been calculated, except when it comes to this. And maybe that's a mental hurdle he can't get over because it's his own life and he's dealing with all these things. But you think, how does it not explode? How does he not take somebody with him? How does he not go out like a badass? That's just kind of, it's disappointing. It's just disappointing. Like, why not do the cool thing? Why not do something cool?
I am bummed. Damn, dude, you pitching just a 3-episode arc where it's a heist to kill him is awesome. It's so cool. There's so much there. Kind of like a Smoke and Aces deal where like Dedra's trying to get to him to arrest him. Clea and Andor are both trying to get there to kill him. Like very, very cool. And then if he did blow it up at the end, I do agree there. I think that'd be neat. You can make the argument
everyone
that
has a personal
realistic
relationship with him.
Yeah.
Every single character in the show either hates him or loves him or owes him something. They all owe him something, but they all have different feelings about him. But they would all have to kill him. That's great. That's so good. And that would tie together the entire show.
It is kind of a cool thought too. They did do, damn man, because they did so much setup with like that, the like fuel extraction thing that we never saw pay off. By the way, we never saw a fuel extraction explosion. They told us how cool these explosions are and how easily they can happen so many times. We never saw one. To do that you can use that as exposition to do something, and then you could have the fact that Luthen chose for his exit to be a little bit more chaotic as like some Saw influence on him, where he sees like, hey, sometimes Saw is right. That'd be kind of a cool little bonding moment on the way out, especially if he took out Dedra. I do think it's anticlimactic that Dedra just ends up in this prison that Cass was in. It's like, sure, but that doesn't necessarily feel like, maybe that's realistic, but it doesn't feel satisfying. Maybe it's realistic that it's not satisfying, but I didn't feel satisfied at all that she just ended up in jail. Like, it didn't feel like it's not like she was famous for sending people to that jail. Like, if this is going to be series finale, we need a little bit more like poetic justice to it. And that just felt like normal justice, like karmic justice, but not like poetic justice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, also, I was going to say the TIE fighter in the first 3 episodes. Where's that?
Yeah, where the fuck did that go?
They do anything with that? They could have flown that in at the end. They wasted it. They just don't do anything cool. They like talking about cool things, but they don't do the cool things. Dedra ending up in prison. It reminds me of the first season we were talking about, where there's just her arc is just, I want this document. I'm not allowed to have this document. I have to go through the proper channels to request this document and access to the document. And then I get the document. It's like, this is boring. Who cares? And if your point with this is that the Empire is bad and complicated and brutal bureaucracy, it's like, I get that on the news. You know, I don't need to see that people take the fall for things that aren't their fault and she ends up in prison. Like, who cares? That's a snooze fest. You know, it's not interesting to me. Even Mon Mothma, it's like, I'm going to make this big speech. And it's like, I watch politicians make speeches all the time. Nobody gives a shit, right? Cory Booker did that, like, whatever, where he just talked, he filibustered for like 12 hours and then was exhausted. And it's like, whoo. And it's like, that changed nothing. That changed nothing. The world keeps turning. I watched a TikTok today where some Texas politicians were trying to pass a furries bill that talking about kids using litter boxes in schools and shit. And it's crazy. And they're just, this is what politicians talk about, and it changes nothing. You know, it's just weird. And like, one speech from Mon Mothma is going to change the galaxy. It's like the end of season 1 where that old woman makes a speech and everyone's like, yeah, time to revolt. And it's like, none of you knew who this woman was.
They all knew who she was. That was Marva.
No, she had zero friends during that show.
It's Marva. Everybody on that.
Nobody knew who Marva was. She had zero friends the entire time until at the end
ran the
her crew showed up.
She ran that whole that Marva's
in season 1.
I sorely missed Marva's. Yeah,
Andor's mom. No, it was. It's just like anticlimactic. Her giving the idea that Mon Mothma gives a speech that makes a single drop of difference in this situation is crazy. It's inconsequential. When Game of Thrones, when they're saying something, the circle is so small and the game is so tight and the people involved are so close to each other that there are direct consequences for that. But if you're talking about bloated bureaucracy going downhill like our government today, it's like it's a drop in the bucket. It's insignificant. It doesn't matter. You know, I agree with the point about the Mon Mothma speech itself, because it's ridiculous that this entire galactic Senate wouldn't be able to see that
Palpatine is evil and pulling strings by this point. By the point where there's already a Death Star out there being completed, and they're already doing all the shit they're doing, like with Gorman. My biggest problem with Gorman was like, at this point in the Empire, why the fuck are they trying to be discreet whatsoever? They rule it. They have everything. No one's going to be able to come back against them. Like, it would be like, I mean, you can just do shit. There is no opposition party to you. There's no one that you need to please. You're a dictatorship at that point. It would be like Kim Jong-un doing like a public poll to see whether or not to roll out a new law. It's like, you're a dictator, homie. You're just going to do that. With Mon, yeah, that like, it felt like her saying at the end, like, and the name of that evil is Emperor Palpatine.
Who cares?
Felt exactly like that old Vine where the guy's like, I'll say it. I don't care you have a broken elbow. It's the exact same energy, dude.
It's so lame. It's so dumb. And I mean, I think it would be, like our government today, it's like, why is everybody corrupt? And it's like money. They're all making money off of this. They all get something out of this. I'd be more interested in hearing like Emperor Palpatine, like bribing people or like, like that's how government works. It's all money. So like, what are stormtroopers getting out of this? What does the Empire get out of this? What do these generals get out of this other than they're scared of the Emperor? There's got to be more motivation than that. It'd be interesting to see his top generals and his top people benefiting financially, life-wise. Do they have sweet apartments? Do they get like, what are they getting out of doing this?
Well, it's
because
also
that's what
weird.
Motivating all like the crimes and criminals and everybody awful today.
It's extra weird too, because the guy at the top is a literal fucking wizard. Like the guy at the top, he's not just, they're framing him the entire show like he's just a bureaucrat. And it's like, this motherfucker shoots lightning out of his hands. Like, he doesn't just have figurative power. This guy has actual power to the point where, again, it's like he can shoot lightning out of his hands, and his solution to everything is a slow-moving bureaucracy. Like, I guess maybe it reinforces the idea that bureaucracy is the ultimate evil, and I do definitely feel that in my day-to-day life, but I don't know.
It's not interesting. It's not something I really want to watch in my fiction, in my fantasy escapism.
Yeah, there's no escape in here. Listener, what do you think? Was this an escape from your life or a harsh reminder of your day-to-day reality? Let us know. Send us an email at nerdy430@gmail.com. We'll read it on the show. We'll be back here again next week